Canelo in Riyadh in May, the big fight in the history of boxing.
Boxing investor Turki Alalshikh has dropped a major bombshell on the boxing world by confirming Canelo's fight with Terence Crawford in May. Meanwhile, boxing promoter Eddie Hearn previously made a stunning revelation, claiming that Canelo has abandoned Crawford in favor of Jake Paul. Hearn has promoted 8 of Canelo's past fights, weighed in on the situation. Hearn acknowledged that a Canelo versus Crawford's fight would have been superior in terms of boxing skill, but financially, the Jake Paul fight would be the bigger draw.
Well, just in terms of numbers, financially.
The Jake Paul fight. But listen, Terence is a brilliant fighter. He doesn't yet have the profile of some of the greatest names of the generation. He should have, by the way. Jake Paul's a massive draw. When was it? 80 million accounts watched his fight or more with Mike Tyson. I mean, this fight is huge.
Echoing his thoughts on whether the collapse of the Canelo-Crawford fight was intentional, Eddie Hearn emphasized that it happened unexpectedly. He also weighed in on Canelo's mindset, suggesting that he's only interested in fighting for money.
Nothing really. I mean, it was all very sudden, wasn't it? Is it in relation to the Jake Paul fight? I don't know. I mean, look, Canelo, I say all that. Canelo don't care, right? Give him the money and he's going to fight.
Furthermore, Eddie Hearn criticized Canelo Alvarez for not being loyal to anyone and is willing to fight anyone as far as the price is right. Besides this, he confirmed that the planned Crawford fight is now overshadowed by the seemingly finalized Jake Paul bout. He said, Canelo has no loyalty to anyone. None to me, none to PBC, none to Turki Alalshikh. Pay me the money, I will fight whoever you want me to fight. That's basically it. So I guess the talk was a Terence Crawford fight. Now it looks like the Jake Paul fight is done by all accounts. Eddie Hearn asserted that Canelo will deliver a powerful punch to Jake Paul, and he wouldn't mind watching it happen. Despite mentioning his strict attitude towards Jake Paul in the past, Hearn acknowledged and respected Jake for taking on this challenging fight.
Does that make the Crawford fight less appealing? Because he's kind of moving into that world now, and I don't blame him, because he's going to make an absolute fortune to punch Jake Paul. And I don't mind the fight, I've got to be honest with you. Like, I've given Jake stick over the years because he's done some things that I didn't like, and I'm just being honest. But you have to respect him for taking the Canelo fight. He's doing that because there's a huge amount of money on the table. But I don't mind seeing it.
Oladipo reacted to the news of Canelo potentially facing Jake Paul, acknowledging that financially it's one of the biggest matchups. He backed up Eddie Hearn's opinion of the fight to emerge as a bestseller. Furthermore, Oladipo expects Canelo to knock Paul out within the first round.
I will say this though, there's enough money in it, and it's financially it's the biggest fight that can be made in boxing, and I hate to say it.
Really?
It really is. I mean, I think I saw Eddie Hearn the other day talk about it in terms of numbers. If it goes on Netflix, you're talking hundreds of millions. You really are. And if you're Canelo and this comes across your table, I mean, Canelo would knock out Jake Paul in a round if he wanted to.
Agreeing with the general view that Canelo seeks money fights, Ade Oladipo supported his decision, stating that Canelo carefully weighs risk and reward. According to Oladipo, fighting Jake Paul presents zero risk and offers a highly commercial opportunity. He said, I think Canelo is at the stage of his career where he's already proven himself to be one of the world's best ever fighters. Fun fights for the most money, he will weigh up the risk and reward, and there's zero risk in Jake Paul, and the reward is so big, so why not do it for 100 million? Frank Warren has also reacted to the possible Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul fight. Warren gave his thoughts on a contest which is likely to generate a massive response from boxing fans. He stated that this fight would be a major opportunity for both fighters to make a substantial amount of money.
It's going to sell a hell of a lot of pay-per-view buys. It's still a massive fight.
That's why he's taken it. I mean, how do I look at it? He looks at that. If he does do this fight and looks at it and thought, I can earn a lot of money, but he would earn a fortune as well. They both earn a lot of money. Him and Crawford, maybe he looks, I don't know, I don't know what's in these guys' minds.
Jake Paul has fought Mike Tyson in his last bout, and many considered that was not a good matchup at all. Frank Warren reflected on this scenario with his perspective and went on to appreciate Jake Paul for taking this fight. However, he expressed concerns about the significant weight difference in this upcoming fight.
Jake taking that fight as well, obviously the Mike Tyson.
Well, you can't complain about him now fighting an old man, can you? I mean, he's gone from it's like one extreme to the other. So you've got, from Jake's point of view, he's, I mean, that is a tough fight for Jake. My interest would be what weight they're going to make the fight at, because he came in quite heavy to fight one time.
Eddie Hearn addressed Frank Warren's concerns about the weight difference, offering his perspective on the matter. He pointed out that it does not matter and showed a firm belief that Canelo would easily beat Jake Paul at any weight class.
Absolutely no idea. I mean, look, Canelo's 168. What does Jake normally weigh? 200? Does it? Yeah. So they're at 190. Canelo could probably get to 180. Don't matter. I mean, literally, Canelo could be 147 and fight Jake Paul at 220 pounds, and he wouldn't lose.
Besides sharing his opinion on Jake Paul versus Canelo Alvarez, Frank Warren offered his perspective on the Crawford and Canelo fight if it happens in future. He went on to praise Canelo fighting ability and called him comparatively bigger than Crawford. He said, "A great respect to him. He's obviously older, and there is a certain time of your career where you're not going to get any better, you're only going to get worse. And I still think he would be too big and too much for Crawford." On the other hand, Turki Alalshikh just confirmed that he plans on making Canelo Alvarez fight Terence Crawford in May. He also shared that there are some other epic fights coming soon.
Canelo in Riyadh in May, the big fight in the history of boxing. In September, then 2 more fights in 26. Don't miss with the line.
Greg Hackett also shared his thoughts on the potential Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul fight, stating that if Canelo has chosen to face Jake, he will not fight Crawford under any circumstances. He echoed concerns about the weight disparity in the matchup and drew parallels to the Roy Jones Jr. versus Antonio Tarver fights, predicting a similar outcome if Crawford and Canelo fight is made.
If he fight Jake Paul, he ain't gonna fight Bud. Because I'm gonna tell you why. He gotta go up for Jake Paul. You gotta go up for Jake Paul. Jake Paul not coming under 200 pounds. You understand? Canelo gonna do the same thing Roy did to his body. He's gonna go up and bring it back down to 68. Fuck no. He gonna do the same thing Roy did against Tarver, which means Bud Crawford will beat Tarver that night and end up knocking out Canelo. People think I'm crazy, I know, but he not gonna. If he fight Jake Paul at 200 pounds, he not coming back down to fight Bud. Not doing that. Too much on the body.
Furthermore, Greg Hackett expressed his dissatisfaction with the matchup, recalling Jake Paul's fight with Mike Tyson and blasting Jake for it. He accused Jake Paul of paying Tyson to not knock him out. He exploded at Jake Paul, calling him a joke. He stated, "I don't want to see that shit. Jake Paul, get Jake Paul out the way, man. Get out of the way. Stop playing. Can't beat no Canelo. You had to pay Mike Tyson not to knock you out. Let's be real. Mike Tyson got that cheese not to knock you out. Not because it was Mike Tyson. It was just, don't knock him out, Mike. Don't put him to bed. You catch Mike holding back, pulling shots. Mike doesn't pull shots. He booms that shit. We are talking about Mike Tyson, come on now. Jake Paul, joke." American boxer Ivan Robinson also criticized this fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez. He suggested that this fight is garnering unnecessary hype and excitement. Robinson lashed at Jake Paul for lack of the professional caliber to defeat Canelo, and also went after Canelo for picking up a fight where he has to throw nothing but only getting 100 million.
Ain't no fight, man. That ain't no fight. Right. Not no fight at all. I mean, be real. I mean, I ain't doing it but getting everybody excited and hyped for no reason. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? For no reason at all. I don't think Jake Paul has what it takes to keep a nigga like Canelo off of it. I don't think Canelo can pull back on anything he want to throw. So
It's gonna look corny.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'll go step in there for 100 million. Give me 100. Snatch that 100 million. Keep me.
Showbiz the Adult has also reacted to this matchup. He condemned Turki Alalshikh for focusing on making events rather than a boxing fight. And he said, Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul may have derailed the fight with him versus Crawford, and why would that happen all of a sudden? Well, I know this for His Excellency Turki Alalshikh. He doesn't see fights like that as boxing matches. He sees them as events. Showbiz the Adult pointed out that Turki Alalshikh is focused solely on securing stadium deals for the fighters, prioritizing the logistics logistics and financial aspects of the events, rather than the actual fights themselves. It seems like he has a more negative view on that, and he just doesn't call it boxing, and with his heavy negotiations, and Crawford and Canelo agreeing, and he trying to lock down Allegiant Stadium, like he's trying to lock down Raider Stadium for the first boxing match there, and he see that Canelo is seriously negotiating with Jake Paul in May. Teddy Atlas has also reacted to this fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez. He accused Canelo of picking exhibition fights to get money.
He picks his spots and avoids a lot of guys to get the most money. I'm not saying he's not a terrific fighter, but I'm also saying that is a fact. Exhibit A.
Teddy Atlas went on to mock this fight between Canelo and Jake, implying that it lacked the intensity and seriousness of a real competition. He said, Canelo and Paul, this would be exhibited in a courtroom. If I was a lawyer of why I say Canelo, and I'm not saying this his fault, not his fault, whatever, but why Canelo picks his spots. We know he's the cash king. We know he's the pay-per-view king. Famous boxing and media personality Spencer Farron has given a stunning prediction ahead of the potential Canelo Alvarez versus Jake Paul fight, evidencing Paul's dangerous movement and training under the mentorship of Julian Love. Spencer predicted that Jake Paul would knock out Canelo in this fight.
Did you not see how dangerous and what's the correct term? Virile in movement Jake Paul was? Plus, you know what? Jake Paul was trained by Julian Love. Julian Love's my guy. I see a lot of you guys out in London. I was meant to be at the Undisputed for the game. I was meant to be there, but unfortunately I was in Jamaica, so I'm here in Jamaica. But seriously, Jake Paul's gonna stop Canelo. There's your line for you. Jake Paul's gonna knock out.
Spencer Farron went on to recall Jake Paul's last fight with Mike Tyson as an evidence for his prediction. He also highlighted why fights like Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez are important for sports business. He said, everybody's got their apprehensions about the Mike Tyson fight right with Jake Paul. Everyone says now Tyson pulls these punches and blah blah. But this is what I'm gonna say to you. I was actually pleasantly surprised by the movement of Jake Paul, right? But we have to be real. I'm gonna be real with you, right? If that fight does happen, it will more than likely be. I'm keeping it real. Some deals being put together. I hope you know what I'm gonna be real with you. Boxing is show business now, right? And in order to get this crossover, we do kind of need people like Jake Paul, but Canelo doesn't need Jake Paul. Spencer Brown revealed that Canelo will bring a big damage to Jake Paul's integrity. He also went on to focus on what Paul brothers have contributed for the undercard fighters.
Look what Jake Paul, we have to big up him and his brother as well, right? Look what they have done for undercard fighters. Look what they've done, right? So as much as we want to laugh, I understand what that is. This is entertainment. I don't think somebody as integral as Canelo would do anything to damage his integrity to the sport.
At the same time, Aid Oladipo has favored Canelo in this fight. Despite acknowledging the incredible achievement of Jake Paul in the sport of boxing, he suggested that Paul will not last longer in his fight against Canelo this time. He said, this fight doesn't last round. Like if Canelo wanted to get Jake Paul out of there in a round, in a minute, and I believe he does that. Again, this is no discredit to Jake Paul. I think what Jake Paul has done in the sport of boxing has been incredible, but Jake Paul is fighting potentially a guy who is at top 5, top 6 pound for pound. Oladipo went on praising Canelo and posed a serious threat for Jake Paul in facing Canelo. He added, Canelo is a guy who has only lost to Dimitri Bivol and Floyd Mayweather, a guy who is still very much at the top of his game, and Jake Paul wanting to get in the ring with Canelo at this stage of Canelo's career. This isn't Anderson Silva. This isn't Mike Tyson. This is a legit live boxer. Boxing legend Jeff Mayweather has also weighed in on this potential fight between Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul. He picked Canelo to win and predicted a 5th round knockout for Jake Paul.
I think that if the fight happens, everybody will be watching it. And I think that Canelo will win the fight. I would say maybe at the most 5 rounds.
Tim Bradley Jr. has also reacted to the rumors of the potential fight between Jake Paul and Canelo Alvarez. He suggested the American businessman Al Heyman is the one behind this matchup. He said, I just feel like Al Heyman got something to do with this because Al Heyman is the only one that can pull off something like this. I don't think it has anything to do with Turki Alalshikh. I think it all has to do with Al Heyman and his relationship with Canelo Alvarez. You know what he told him? He said, listen, I get it. You're making $70 million. That's a lot of bread, young man. Tim Bradley expressed interest in seeing Canelo fight Jake Paul, suggesting that it would be an intriguing matchup he would like to watch unfold. He requested Canelo and his fans to stay true to the boxing games. Tim Bradley insisted Canelo focus only on knocking Jake out in the ring. While Crawford versus Canelo is off now, Tim Bradley went on to share his thoughts on this situation. He suggested that it could turn out to be a bargaining tool from the end of Canelo. He said, "So fight's off right now, but it could just be a bargaining tool just so he can get that paper up to face Crawford." Mike Altamura also analyzed this potential fight. Mike highlighted the significance of this fight and how it can bring exposure in the boxing sport. At the same time, he expressed his strong desire to see a pure boxing fight rather than a show. He said, "If you look at the Tyson-Jake Paul battle, everybody laughed at the main event, but they were exposed to one of the best fights of all time. There's something in it that can bring exposure to boxing in that regard. It's a slight win for the sport, but I think that it would be great to see the mainstream public really amped up for a pure boxing fight rather than a freak show again." So that was all for today. Let us know what are your thoughts on this fight. Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon to get all the future updates.